The incident begins about noon on November 28, 1994, in front of an Arizona mall. A tiny truck carrying Wells Fargo money arrived at the mall park parking lot. Below, it was highly fortified and armored. Doors were hard to open, since it looked regular to mask its money transfer car or truck status. Its exterior hid bulletproof armor, and its inside was impenetrable. The truck was gone when he reached the parking lot, shocking him. The armored truck was gone when I checked. Police received a report from the money collector. Investigators also interrogated mall-goers and van spectators. They all stated they saw nothing the investigators couldn't. Money in the car neared $1 million. Something would have disturbed and been noticed. Everyone in the mall parking lot or adjacent reported things were peaceful, and they didn't notice anything abnormal if someone opened a loud alarm to assist them describe what happened. The investigators were confused. They could only assume that the driver stole the vehicle, worked with a gang, or was threatened and forced to unlock it. Off that everyone would hear, how could the car depart silently without explosives or massive force? The FBI searched for the widespread van police patrols at the same time. Naturally, 33-year-old John Cash drove. Drivers are accomplices in numerous money truck robberies. This circle stretched around the mall for tens of kilometers. They possibly moved money to a mall-close car. This made sense. Criminals must have departed the van at the nearest location as quickly as possible. If John was preparing such an operation, he would have packed his vital possessions and taken them with him. But the flat seemed normal and organized. John Cash's family, friends, and acquaintances told investigators he was honest. A few hours later, someone told police they saw the car in a church parking lot. Anyone with case-solving knowledge gets $60,000. The FBI and local police convened a news conference to explain and request help. Photos and descriptions of the car and missing driver John Cash were released. FBI agents arrived soon and found a victim on the floor of a running, closed-door car they couldn't identify. The truck matched police specs and license plate number, they claimed. All forensic experts agreed that the car was free of hair and fingerprints, indicating the perpetrators. This demonstrated the operation was well-planned and competent. To find the criminals, forensic professionals investigated the car inside and out. Second, these persons had police expertise, and the cash and paper money was gone, so detectives had no obvious lead to the culprits. Step-by-step analysis revealed that the offenders were likely two or more persons because one person couldn't pull off such an operation. This makes investigations tougher since this city's police must contact that city's. The cops removed the car from the search scope and gave it to another police agency outside the city. The forensic doctor concluded that the shooting was done from 10 millimeters or higher, since gunpowder would have been present at close range, or too small to identify the bullet, which breaks into tiny pieces when it reaches its target. Criminals used this bullet, so authorities couldn't track the bullet or pistol. A witness saw the vehicle leave the mall parking lot during the heist operation, according to the FBI. It was determined that the shooting occurred over 10 millimeters. He tried to shoot these bullet fragments from the body, but there was no powder. This information was new to me. Morgan and Morgan agreed to see the FBI's hypnosis specialist to awaken witness memories for the first time. As a forensic psychologist, this expert can preserve witnesses' memories. The FBI's hypnosis specialist opens the subconscious for internal recollection. I don't know how he accomplishes it, because this is a science, but the purpose is to have the witness experience the occurrence God given us with higher talents. 2 in the van and 1 in the red pickup vehicle behind them. Cops knew the gang had 3 or more. Morgan partially recalled the red pickup's license plate. He repeated as if it were happening today. Hypnotized, Morgan recalled how many people were there. Order of the numbers. Couldn't recall the characters or symbols, but knowing them was impressive. Because Arizona police didn't record automobile colors in registration licenses, detectives spotted hundreds of cars, while searching for Morgan's red pickup truck. The media described this gentleman as distinctive due to his long hair and huge goatee-style beard. Several days after posting this sketch, a lady called the police to say she thinks she knows who this person is, but can't talk to them because she's scared others will suspect her. Judy's comments weren't enough, but last month she saw they started buying costly watches and other stuff. Judy's new information was great. The detectives were nearly positive they had the offenders, but they needed proof to convict. How did they enter the van? Under hypnosis, the investigator instantly investigated these two males. Even when the driver convinced him to unlock the door, their wanted guy confirmed that Timothy Ring owned a red pickup vehicle with witness Morgan's specs. Also found that these two men had worked as prison guards and had professional weapons training, confirming the investigators' initial suspicions that the operation's perpetrators were police and security professionals, making it harder to monitor and follow them to find incriminating evidence. The FBI monitored James and Timothy 24/7 with ground and aircraft units. FBI agents said James and Timothy spent a lot of money on several things, making them difficult without their care. Before approaching William Ferguson, the third partner they suspected, the FBI waited weeks. Detectives discovered he was a police officer, but unemployed. Everyone James and Timothy knew was photographed and recorded. Forced into early retirement due to problems he got into, his specifications matched those of a partner in the operation, an expert with weapons, knowledgeable about police procedures, and with a bad record. The FBI set their sights on him and started monitoring all three, James Green, Timothy, and William Ferguson. Eventually, the investigators received new information that confirmed they were on the right track. Someone came too. The investor's choice was confirmed by Fergie, short for William Ferguson. But this person's words are just words without proof, so they had to keep watching. One method was rooting through trash. Their trash. The surveillance would instantly gather the rubbish bag they threw and seek for evidence to convict. One bag had written and sketched money transport truck route information. Though inconclusive, it was beneficial. Detectives fabricated evidence after consulting due to a lack of new evidence. They used audio recordings of suspects confessing, requiring a robust monitoring approach. The three met most regularly at James Green's apartment, so detectives were sure they were meeting there. Since the other two had families, they met in the single person's house. The FBI installed listening devices at James Green's residence. To avoid detection, FBI agents broke into James's residence one night without revealing any traces of a break-in or damaged door locks. They put the listening devices in secret so no one would notice them afterward. In James's residence, the FBI monitored their calls and phones. They had to prepare a bogus news release since they knew the three suspects wouldn't disclose the operation randomly. They found characteristics unlike the three suspects. The FBI never finishes an investigation without new information that makes it hard for the criminal to escape, so they remained listening. Despite their talks not claiming they carried out the operation, the FBI's evidence was enough to convict them. Kept James's share with him, meaning he didn't give him all his money because he didn't trust him, and was giving him his money in drops every now and then to control him so James would stay under Timothy's control. Through these conversations, the investigators concluded that Timothy was likely the leader, and James was just a follower. William, the former police officer, seemed to be. Since Timothy considered James as a toy, the investigators wanted to scare him. Timothy was belligerent and talked coarsely and aggressively, mimicking James's violence, the cops noticed. James was Timothy's toy because God honored you. James Green was arrested at home peacefully. Police would have raided his flat and arrested him after hearing this chat. Researchers believed they had enough evidence to convict them without admitting to the operation. They acquired warrants to relocate and arrest them the next morning. Timothy was regarded the most dangerous, thus he may be armed and fight apprehension, culminating in gunfire and murder. If summoned as an informant, he He wouldn't bring his gun to the FBI office, so the undercover cops astonished and overwhelmed him. Timothy's house evidence led to a search of their homes. The evidence list against them in his garage included a document demonstrating how the money was divided among the three of them, with a distinct license plate. The FBI seized all three before he could react. Hypnotherapy statistics showed Morgan had terrible memory. They uncovered a large cash bag at Timothy's residence while checking the other suspects' homes. They probably spent most of the $1 million stolen from the truck in the previous 3 months. Evidence against them was strong. The investigators spent an hour trying to persuade Ian James to talk as he babbled. William Ferguson refused to cooperate with investigators despite the evidence. James Green was the only one who regretted their crime. Timothy planned the operation 6 months in advance and persuaded them to join him. James consented to testify with investigators about their responsibilities and how they took over the money truck despite its security. The main reason was that they saw driver John McCash open the van door and smoke every time he parked at this mall. They needed this weakness to penetrate everyone. This would help them execute their plan without anybody knowing the mall was the truck's last stop, making them a lot of money since morning. On execution day, James and William Ferguson. John McCash was LAX, and his smoking habit was too powerful to resist. They decided to operate on November 28th, when store and company operations would be booming, and the truck would gather more cash than normal. Truckers were prohibited from opening doors when stopped. The window does not slide down. Because of car security, he had to open the door to let the smoke out. They stood and waited till the money collector got off the truck and went to the mall to collect money as usual. Was waiting in a red pickup 15M from the van with expert rifle and sniper training and shooting contest experience. He hesitantly opened the door 20 centimeters and pointed his handgun at him. The rifle's silencer muted the shot. James and William drove the van out of the mall, followed by Timothy in his red pickup truck. Nobody in the mall or parking lot noticed. The driver died horribly after James and William shot him in the side of the head, according to body forensics. Silence. So no one noticed anything unusual. The van kept driving on the street with the red pickup behind it until they reached the church parking lot. Naturally, as mentioned before, this church was considered outside city limits, meaning they entered another city, and this was part of their plan to delay police finding the van, involve more than one police department, and delay case proceedings. James said officers. They burned their clothing and evidence and concealed the pickup truck license plate in the desert. James took money from the car to their abandoned truck. James left the car in the church parking lot and headed to the desert. Detectives uncovered a pile of burnt products, clothing, and possessions used by the three throughout the operation. They found the false truck plate the three had thrown away, which had the same numbers as witness Morgan described under COSIS. Hypnosis worked wonderfully, apparently. After their trials, James Green and William Ferguson were condemned. Timothy claimed in court and in public that the FBI was wronging him and denied killing the driver for years. The mastermind who organized the operation got 30 years, while the man who shot the driver got the worst. Timothy serves life after the Supreme Court reversed his death sentence. The court sentenced the execution without a jury, raising legal concerns. Legal restrictions prohibited execution in Arizona,